This is a continuation of the Jeet Kune, the Tao of Jeet Kune series. I am on page 16. To express yourself in freedom, you must die to everything of yesterday. From the old, you derive security. From the new, you gain the flow. Once again, he's just talking about being in meditation, dying of yesterday, but I also would like to add in no preparation, no thoughts of the future either, because the mind gets stuck in the past and it gets stuck in the future. Rarely is in the present moment. When you're in the present moment, then you're flowing, then you're in meditation, and that's freedom. To realize freedom, the mind has to learn to look at life, which is a vast movement without the bondage of time. From freedom lies beyond the field of consciousness. Watch, but don't stop and interpret. I am free. Then you're living in a memory of something that has gone. To understand and live now, everything of yesterday must die. So, once again, he's talking about meditation. And you can't stop and say that I am free, because once you stop and say that I am free, that is the thought that has come up to the mind, and then you're no longer in the present moment. Thoughts are of the past, or they're anticipations of the future. Thoughts are the ego. You need to stop these thoughts. So it's no mind. When you're in no mind, then you're in the present moment. When you're in the present moment, then you're in meditation, and then you're free. Freedom from knowing is death, then you are living. Die inwardly of pro and con. There is no such thing as doing right or wrong when there is freedom. Basically, he's saying, don't let the mind interpret right from wrong. Don't choose. Don't choose yin over yang or yang over yin. Embrace both. See both. Without judgment, without mind. When there's no judgment, there's no mind, then there's just freedom. The mind is what imposes limitations. So if you drop the mind, then there are no limitations and you are free. When one is not expressing himself, he is not free. Thus he begins to struggle, and the struggle breeds methodical routine. Soon he is doing his methodical routine as a response rather than responding to what is. So, when he's talking about expressing yourself, he's talking about being an artist, being yourself, and expressing yourself for who you are. When he's talking about methodical routine, it's like a pattern that you've been taught that has been created by somebody else. So these are kind of like the fixed forms that he's referring to that have been created by other people that you're practicing. When you're practicing a fixed form from somebody that has been created by somebody else, you're not expressing yourself, you're expressing somebody else's method or way. So when you're practicing these routines, you're not responding to what is. So when he's talking about responding to what is, it's like a real life encounterment where you're in danger or just a live sparring situation. You got to respond according to that situation and what's happening in the moment, not from thoughts of the past or in past routines, but you got to respond immediately to that moment and what's going on. And that's what he's trying to motivate people towards, is getting them to be in the moment and responding to the situation at hand, opposed to practicing routines that are created by other people, dealing with the past that's not responding to the moment at hand. So these fixed routines are almost like dance forms, choreographed dance scenes, or even in Bruce Lee's time, when he's making movies, he's making a choreographed fight scene. These are fixed routines. But a live sparring situation or a real life situation dealing with violence, it's not fixed. It's always dynamic and changing. And he's saying that you need to respond to that moment at hand and be aware, not to be stuck in the past. The fighter is to always be single-minded with one object in view, to fight, looking neither backward nor sideways. He must get rid of obstructions to his forward movement, emotionally, physically, or intellectually. To me, he's just basically saying if you are in a dangerous encounter, you got to deal with it. And once you decide to fight, you need to fight. You can't, be worried about other things or just kind of... Basically, a lot of people are like this, when you're training and you're like, okay, if this happens, then you can use this weapon and then you can respond this way. But then people bring up, well, what if I get in trouble with the law for carrying this weapon? Is it against the law, or am I justified in defending myself if they come at me like this or they say this to me? What if I end up going to jail? What if this or that happens? They're always thinking about what might happen, that they might get arrested if they carry a weapon, or they might have to go to jail if they accidentally hurt the person too bad, or they're anticipating the future, and then people end up restraining themselves from defending themselves because they're worried about getting arrested. They're not actually engaged fully in the moment of the violent encounter in defending themselves. They're not truly committed to fight. So basically, Bruce is saying, if once you decide to fight, you got to be truly committed. You can't start looking backwards or to the side, refraining yourself. You need to just respond to that situation and protect yourself. Once you make that decision, then that's it. You just have to move forward. So you can't let your emotions get in the way, your physical or your mind. You don't let your mind get in the way. Don't let your emotions get in the way. And don't let your physical get in the way. Say your knees hurting, your hands hurting, your shoulders hurting. When you're fighting, you can't worry about any of that. You just have to do whatever you have to do at that moment to win the encounter or survive that moment. And anyway, because of the adrenaline and because you're in the moment in meditation, that pain should go. You shouldn't even have the pain anyway. and you shouldn't have any thoughts. So you can't let the mind get in the way. You shouldn't have any emotions. You can't let fear get in the way. You can't let anger get in the way. You just have to respond to the moment in commitment. And that's pretty much having no mind and responding to the situation. Being in meditation and responding to the situation. One can function freely and totally if he is beyond system. The man who is really serious with the urge to find out what truth is has no style at all. He lives only in what is. So once again, he's pointing at how you cannot limit yourself to styles. Limiting yourself to styles, no matter if it's boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, Karate, Taekwondo, Aikido, limiting yourself to styles is essentially imposing rules upon yourself and what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do. You know, and he's saying when you are totally free from all those styles, then you just respond with whatever is necessary to handle the situation. You know, styles are thrown out the window. So it's kind of like, hello?